to be, you know, a much wider gap opening. You know, if there's a defense and we consider that to be a bit of a hole in the team, this is kind of Talon just tearing that one open, whereas Cycling Coupling kind of just unjigged it a little bit.
Well, let's talk about flexibility, by the way, because Talon Esports, this is one of those things they can run. This is a quad DPS.
And in it, we have seen a little bit on the Widowmaker as well. He's kind of been reasonably successful. This is not too uncommon for the team, but Global Esports, I'm sure they're quite familiar with this one. They just faced it against Cycling Coupling last week.
Littlerex has actually done a decent job of putting some pressure onto Bashful, but that's sort of a very finite thing. You can only do it for so long, but back off that high ground there. Eventually, the pressure starts to mount here for Global Esports. Xenofly low, not quite dead yet, but something's got to give.
And you look at this as well, Hakon, as your Global Esports members are so low. That's finally the DMEC as well. They're off the point, and the point's starting to tick up.
Yeah, Littlerex going down is probably the even more damning one aside from the DMEC itself. And that's the thing. Eventually, there's just too much damage. Eventually, there's a headshot. There's one rocket too many. There's a well-timed hack. And suddenly, it all falls to bits. That's what the quad DPS does to you.
And at the end there, you see Satrock just jumping at Bashful, who doesn't even care, doesn't even look at him. Goes for the next member in line, and Talon Esports running with this momentum now. Ultimate's starting to come up online. Aputo, the big EMP, should be the nail in the coffin. Lorax is going to actually try and match this one, and so is Bubble Kitty with the Tracer.
This is interesting. We have seen Bubble Kitty's Tracer only briefly, but it was incredible when we saw it. Still, this is a lot to measure up to. Pulse Bomb from Gogora doesn't quite do too much, but they get a DMEC now on Xenofly. He will get finished off.
Oh, wow.
Littlerex shot by in beautiful. And even able to finish off Satchok as well, just spraying out with the machine gun. It's looking good for Talon.
And this is about every single member on Talon being as sneaky and as slippery as possible. And they're getting a lot of damage and kills in. Barrage in play.
Yeah, only gets Xeon Flux, but that's more than enough. He's the only one to go down as well, which means there's still a res on CQB that they can commit to Bashful. And probably just committed about now, I would say, while there's no one really coming out the spawn gates for Global Esports.
And this is it. This could be the final cap coming through. There's barely members alive.
Don't even need the res.
One attempt on both sides, doesn't even need the res like you mentioned, and this is kind of the nightmare scenario if you're a tank player like Satchok trying to jump on somebody. You just want to catch something, but your hands are too big, and everyone on Talon Esports too small, too slippery. Jump onto Innen, who just hooks himself away. You try and chase him, you realize this is not going anywhere, you're wasting so much time. The other 5 members of Talon Esports are just having their way with your team, and you can't do anything. It feels like just suffocation.
And unlike the last time we saw Global Esports have to flex off the 3-3, pop Bubble Kitty on that Tracer, pop Littlerex onto that Widowmaker, this time it really did not work out. So this time it will be Talon on the defense. You can't really quite run that quad DPS, so Global Esports can just come out swinging with a 3-3 again.
You know what the real fear here is for Global Esports and every other team in the competition, all 7 of them, is that right now Talon Esports look like, you know, as far as we've been saying, they're the slightly less flexible team, but actually when they want to go that far, when they want to be that flexible and run with that many DPSs, they're looking better than Cyclone Coupling, and that's a thought. That's a really scary thought.
And unsurprisingly here, Talon want to set up a kind of bunker composition here. This is a bit different to what we've usually seen. You know, we've seen some snipers. We've seen often Torbjorn and Bastion, and once upon a time we would see Junkrat and Bastion. So Bastion Ash a little bit different.
Well, Tor Bastion is right now, I mean, we just saw that earlier this evening, and I think now when you look at Junkrat, he's been usually paired with the Widowmaker, but Aputo wants a little bit more safety, and that he wants to be able to affect the fight even when things get quite hairy at close range. And if we remember his Ash performance from a previous engagement that they have in a previous match, it was absolutely disgusting.
So this is actually a good call from Bubble Kitty. He hovered it initially. They decided they wanted to scout before committing, and seen largely what's being run. They see the Junkrat trap and everything, so they know what's out there. And
they want to see, you know, scouting-wise as well, Lil Rex is already on a flank. What he can also do is kind of affect the point. He's trying to draw members back, trying to draw attention away, and give the rest of his team an opportunity to get a rotation going.
This is a little bit of a slow maneuver here from Global Esports, and they're moving in a bit of a disjointed fashion. They don't want to eat too much spam damage all at once, I suppose.
That shock denied.
This is a very awkward push in from Global Esports here. They look still just a little bit disconnected.
And you got to look at the ult charge from Talon Esports as well. Bashful hacked, could be opportunity.
Yeah, but not quite able to get onto him. They do get onto the point though, and this is where Talon could either bounce back or absolutely crumble. They do push off Satchok.
Now look at Aputo, he's nearly onto the ult. It could be the first one of the game as well. Oh, so many low members.
Beautiful with the dynamite. Little Rax just having to wait for a health pack because this is still a 4 versus 6 because Little Rax isn't quite in it either. Slept now as well. Does get woken back up, but I mean, Global Esports still aren't really coordinated here.
And I think a lot of time has gone as well. Pudo doesn't even need to ult. Bashful notably is going to have a very slow ultimate because Junkrat versus Dive is not going to give you the tie very quickly, but this is exactly where Pudo shines because if Global Esports wants to run 3-3, Bashful's going to get a quick tie. If you want to run Dive, it's a Pudo that's going to get a quick bob.
That's the thing, they've nearly got both at their disposal anyway, and Global Esports spend a long time sort of committing to the fight and sort of retreating and failing at both.
Very slow here. Look, Bubble Kid is already chunked out. Talon definitely have all 6 ultimates now, 2 minutes remaining. This is expected to be a Talon victory on this fight specifically.
You'd have to say so. It's going to be a nano boost first coming out from Xeon Flux and the Satchok trying to get some pressure down. Riptire gets Xenofly's mech and a dynamite will finish off the pilot itself. And well, with that, it's only the 1/3 for Global Esports, but they haven't made any headway in terms of kills. Now a late blade coming up from Bubble Kitty after a Zero and Satchok already dead, but he's got some ground on the gun, getting CQB as well. That's a 3 for none out of the man, but he goes down to a self-destruct, and all the hard work is for Nouch.
And I actually thought that Apudo was going to use the bob there. As you see the Dragon Blade come through, that's a really good opportunity. Throw it in there, maybe you get the knock-up. At least you get the extra damage up with the tankiness. Talon Esports still managed to hold on though, so they get to keep that one for a later party.
It's going to be a stagger here on Xenofly as well. Very late DMAC, and they don't need to finish that off. They can just walk away, either force them to go back to spawn. And even with Xenofly out of the mech, they still want to commit to this fight. This is maybe a mistake, because now they can just pick up Xenofly, finish off that stagger. I'm not sure why Global chose to commit there.
Huge confidence from Apudo there as well, just staying alive and, you know, didn't have to really jump away or anything. Took 3 headshots. Now it's less than 1 minute, 45 seconds remaining. The bob's going to be absolutely impactful on the point itself. Tire coming through could be very deadly. Talon Esports, this could be the full hold.
And even if it's not, even if we do end up getting through to B, even if there is a full cap out, 5:45 on the clock for Talon, there's no way that time bank would be close if we even get there.
Well, it's certainly not going to be possible because best you could get is something close to 3 to 4 minutes, but this could be the final engagement. Lil Rax already naded.
Does find Apudo, and NN got picked, so this should be the one for Global Esports, assuming this tire isn't too devastating. Bashful, what a classic. And the tire does get picked up as well. So Talon, they have effectively crumbled on the point here, just looking up to clean up these last few dregs. Even with the res on Apudo, considering whether or not he wants to commit the bar, but I think he knows better than to do so right now. So they will at least get that A cap.
I think it's unlikely that Apudo stays on this for point B. I mean, maybe he does so just to have that ultimate straight out the gate for this eventual push from Global Esports, which is going to be pretty big. Dragon Blade available. Again, it's going to be a Nano Blade, in fact, and Talon Esports need to be able to survive it.
Bashful's actually going to move over onto Tracer here, so Talon maybe have a bit of a plan.
Lil Rax super low. 3 members caught by EMP.
And it's high impact members actually. CQB gets cut down as well, so nice commit there. Oh, brilliant sleep out of NN. One more swipe and he would have been done for. But with the Genji sleeping, Talon Esports were able to get some kills back in their favor and push Global Esports back for now.
So this has been nearly a tick though. It's not quite there on the board, so Global Esports, that's just a little bit of sad news. They need as much progress as possible. Going to be a big round of changes now for Global Esports as they go back onto the 3-3 goats. A little bit more safety, a little bit more consistency. And Talon Esports happy to continue holding as is for now, making a few changes of their own.
Actually still keeping on the Ash here. They've decided they want to get mileage out of the Bob, but this may be a bit of a sunk cost fallacy thing. Here's Bob though. Hey Bob.
It's going to be impactful. They just, you know, Global Esports maybe just walk out of this one.
Well,
maybe not because they lost a member.
Satchok's not going to walk out either by the looks of things, so all's well that ends well. Talon, it ends up paying off for them. It's going to pay off for them more, actually.
Yeah, this is definitely more value than you would have expected.
That's 4 kills. That is 4 kills in the entire prolonged engagement. Bubble Kitty dying a second time, actually. That's how long this fight has gone on for. And again, that's second death for Satchok. So Talon, they commit the Bob, they charge up other ultimates here, and they absolutely destroy what is left of the clock.
And I think it shouldn't have been that successful. I mean, you consider where the positioning of the Bob was, and for Global Esports, use the speed boost and kind of recover a couple of knocked up members. Talon Esports can try and sort of dive on top of you. It shouldn't be that successful, but as Global Esports kind of back out, losing Bubble Kitty was the first straw, and that just turned into an absolute disaster.
Hack on Xenofly is decent. Xeon Flux goes down, and they're just not making any headway here. Talon, they don't even have to commit ultimates right now if they don't want to, at least with how this fight is currently going. Sachok low may end up going down. Indeed, he will. The extra follow-up, the dive pressure, it continues to mount. They're looking for even more. They're going to fight Global Esports the whole way back to spawn, and they're going to get kills while they're doing it. Stun on Bubble Kitty, and he'll go down as well, joining Lil Rax. So Talon just... I mean, these defenses are so overpowering.
And that is a very important defensive fight to win because Apudo just freshly swapped onto the Sombra, so there was definitely not going to be an EMP available. It was going to be one of the weaker defenses from Talon. But now because they win that one so convincingly, Apudo is very likely going to get the EMP this fight. Global Esports are not going to be able to complete it in one push because you don't have a single tick so far. Talon will get a full string of respawns and the EMP is going to be a factor.
But this is nearly 6 ultimates for Global Esports. Self-destruct though cuts off
5 ultimates now.
So it might be a lot of ultimates, but it's a numbers deficit. They finally commit the Transcendence, but just trying to make some headway here. The pick-on uses something, but it's not enough just yet. They haven't got anything more, and now they've got no ultimates, given that Azure's only just coming back to the team now. They got the kills though, and this is where they should come onto the point.
So this is where Talon Esports can afford to give away a couple of ticks. Even if this goes to 99%, EMP's big.
That's very early, I would say, and the sound barrier is actually there to deal with most of it. So Global Esports getting other kills still because Talon didn't wait for a full reset. They only had about 3 members there, maybe a half health extra. This means Global Esports keeping control for the time being, still getting kills through. Gora just trying to stall, not able to get any kills, does go down, and this might end up being Global Esports securing themselves a full cap out.
We need to see Talon Esports stagger this one through to the time bank or either the overtime if possible. That's going to be very important for them. They have the members to do so.
They're keeping it alive, to say the least now, Talon. Just trying to keep the stagger going as Global Esports continue to get the kills. There's a nicely timed grab. Transcendence is there, but it's not enough to save Gogora. And now as that Transcendence runs out, in will not be long for this world. Mew's going to get demexed pretty lickety split. Apudo in the sky trying to do something back to Global Esports, but no such luck. And he will eventually either go down or be forced out by the self-destructs. And, well, they'll take option A. Cap in overtime. They're not out of it yet.
And I think this is where you look at Apudo and you look at that defense as well, and you got to think, wait for your whole team to respawn. You can afford to do so. And I actually do think it's going to be it because it's an overtime push. You're in a draw scenario now. Talon only need to take that 1 tick to actually win. If they don't, it's a draw, and that's a 2-0 anyway. So that's kind of lights out, sadly, for Global Esports, which is why leaving it up until the overtime, or at least stalling it out till then, was going to be so important. But you do have to look back, and you got to think past these kind of moments where they're able to punish so well, they're able to just... Oh, sorry, this is actually when Global Esports start to win, but you look at this defense, you start to think, if you wait for the full team to respawn, you let 2 ticks go because you can afford to do that, then you walk out with an EMP with a full team of 6, you can actually complete that fold.
Feels like Talon maybe gave that one away when they might not have needed to, but...
Good news is they still win, right?
Exactly. Best case scenario here for Global Esports is unfortunately a draw. That does mean that in terms of the series, it is a gimme for Talon. The question is, will they secure the map? Will they turn it into a 4-0?
Because there are other teams also looking to match that score as well, and very likely to do so. And if Talon want to finish first place, if they want that tasty first place prize for in the regular season, they're going to need to collect as many maps as possible. And with 5 minutes and 50 just to get 1/3, you'd have to say it's almost guaranteed. It shouldn't even be possible to lose at this point.
Especially when you consider how quickly they capped A and B in their initial phase. It's a bit of a different team composition out for them though. This is a quad tank. We've seen a little bit of this here and there. This is very aggressive and they just want to barrel on. It should be overwhelming pressure, but speaking of pressure, it's actually Mew's taking all the damage and he does go down.
Well, it's 1 of 4 tanks down, so they've still got the 3, but not going to last too long, it seems.
Yeah. What is it, 99 bottles of tanks on the wall, I guess. And that's 1 more down, passed around. Bashful's the last one left, and now he's done for 2.
And this is where Global Esports have started on the Winston, because they kind of have to. If they don't start on the Winston, Talon Esports can play all the DPSs, and suddenly the Ryan on the defense can't do much against the Pharah. But as Talon Esports goes, it means they can play Muse on the Ryan, and eventually this is going to pay off. You still have more than 4 minutes remaining. In fact, you've barely passed the 5-minute mark here. Talon can afford a lot of resets before this becomes a problem.
That's the thing. 554 is just so much time to work with. They can even get to a point where this utterly fails. They swap onto 3-3 and still have time to get it over the line with that.
They swap onto anything they like and probably still have time. They actually have a Coalescence right now, which could be big. Ultimate's coming online for Global Esports at just the right time, too.
Yeah, they really desperately need those. That Coalescence isn't actually doing too much for Talon right just yet. Shatter Out from Muse is not a hot one.
Early.
And Global Esports, they do have to dig into some of their ultimates, the Grav, the Primal Rage, but it's enough to see them through.
And I think this is where maybe Talon are kind of misreading these situations, because Talon should know, look, they're behind right now, they just lost a fight, they got 4 tanks on their team, which means a lot of ult charge being given away. If they kind of just let Global Esports win this fight, they maintain the Earth Shatter for the next one, they're going with a pretty decent advantage, but that's just not going to be the case.
So now they're going to be looking to take that blender. They've got the Grav, whole hog potentially coming up, and they've got a catch on Satchok. So numbers advantage as well. This could be the one for Talon. Just looking for the X pick now.
Looking for as well, Talon Esports to find a couple more ultimates. Coalescence just kind of sidestepped a little bit.
Yeah, just trying to keep Global Esports in the fight for that little bit longer, but here's going to be the hog.
Oh, stun is big.
Brilliant. Now Apudo, it's going to have to be the Grab to do it as in commits a Coalescence as they loop back around, come back onto the void, but by now Global Esports have actually got Satchok back in, the Grab to come out. They're looking for some damage on top of these members all put up, and the counter grab is there. Azure goes down.
Oh, it's big.
Self-destruct from Gogora is going to seal that one shut. A gong will ring out. We might not be on King's Row anymore, but you can still hear Big Ben in space. Apparently, Talon now 3-0 in the series.
And a big boot by CQB as well to send everyone skyward, setting up that 3K by Gogora absolutely beautifully. And it's a rule of threes right now because it's 3-0 as well. Talon very happy to maintain that first place lead. And right now, Global Esports are kind of scratching their heads a little bit because they've run up against this brick wall twice in a row. Now, they still have an opportunity to get a map on the board, but Talon Esports, you got to say, they have all the makings of all the best parts of basically every team. You look at the Sombra plays from Kicks, who are one of right now the teams looking to get relegated. Talon play that at the peak level. They play at a much higher level. You look at the pure 3-3, Talon can also do that. Pudo plays the Zarya. They can do that as well as most of the other teams. And then you look at the flexibility of DPSs, that Cyclone Coupling's identity, and yet Talon look like they can do it better too.
It's interesting as well. Like we said at the start of the series that they were looking to bounce back after the loss last week, but I think the thing we didn't really give enough credit was they were still 2-0 up in that series. It's not like it was a really bad loss. It's not like they went 0-4 or something. Like it was still actually a close series against another top team that actually might just be the team in this tournament that's better than them. There's still the world where Nova MS come first and Talon come second, because this team does look incredible even against these other top teams. The 4-0 start to the season was not deceptive.
And I think as well, you start to look at, again, this performance as the kind of test, this one as the real measurement. I mean, last week was definitely a measurement as well, but like you said, first 2 maps went their way. I would even argue the last 3 maps that went the way of Nova Esports weren't exactly washes either.
Yeah.
They were still very competitive on Talon's end, so they were never truly out of the series. If either one of those 3 maps went Talon's way, they would have still won that one, and we'd be here looking at this team as a team that is still undefeated. And I think, you know, we talk about a situation where Global Esports look at last week's defeat and say that was going to be their only other loss this entire maybe tournament. Talon are now in that seat where they say that loss to Nova, that's going to be the only loss this tournament.
This is also where map differential can become a real factor. You got to say, Nova, they've had some much closer series here where they had a reverse sweep against Global Esports. That's a +1 map differential. Talon might walk away from their bout against Global Esports with a +4 map record. Yep. That is huge.
And in general as well, because Nova have had more full 5 map series, they don't get those 4-0s. They don't get the big map pickups and map differential, which means I think if this does go down to the wire, Talon Esports, with the fact that they have a lot more 4-0s, this could be another 4-0, are going to be the leaders in that case with map differential. They've just picked up way more.
Exactly, and I think it will come down to the wire for what it's worth. You look at the matchups that both of the other 2 teams currently tied with Talon have tomorrow. Yep. They should both be very winnable, so we should actually end off this week with still a 3-way tie in first place. It won't be broken to the last week, and that means that there is guaranteed to be a tie in that top spot. So the question in terms of who gets that is going to come down to things like map record. It is so critical now as we come into these final weeks.
Yeah, such a huge win as well. And again, looking at Global Esports, the other side, is we're now actually going to head into map 4. They kind of need this map. I would have to say for them, map record is all even maybe more important, because for Talon's side, if they get the 3-1, they're likely still safe. But for Global Esports, because they cop a loss, they might be pushed down very far in the standings if they do not pick up some more maps.
Well, after this one, Global Esports will find themselves hovering just above Xavier in that 5th place spot. Map differential, like you said, will be a big factor in determining whether they can eke back up into maybe a 4th. So, let's see if they can turn it back around on Junkertown.
And this is where now Talon Esports are going to, once again, just go for the DPS plays. They have a Pudo even on a Mei, so that's going to be quite interesting for Junkertown, where you kind of have to wait for very specific places on this. Oh, okay, map where you can find the opportunities, but Inin doesn't care. He finds one straight away.
Good trade back, but it's still coming the way of Talon. It's only one trade back, really, and certainly not an even one. As it were, a very one-sided trade deal, I dare say.
CQB now changing off the Bastion, actually. Going to go on to the Ana.
Just dropping Gogoro off. On
you could almost argue it's kind of like triple sniper, because Apudo with the Mei, those right clicks don't have fall-off damage. I mean, those things can really sting if one cops you in the face from long range.
Certainly a factor of sorts.
I mean, Ana's a sniper. How many snipers can you fit in on this team?
Ash, suppose. I was waiting for you to maybe... Well, Zenyatta? I mean, we see a lot of long-range 5 balls. Anyway,
that one's quite painful for Bashful, but still.
Xenofly is frozen.
Speaking of painful.
Yeah. Maputo does go down, though, so that's maybe an opening here for Global Esports. They need to actually get some pressure onto his tanks, though.
You got to look at ultimates as well. It's Talon Esports sitting on most of them. Inin's picking up a lot.
Yeah, speaking of pressure on tanks, the grab in onto Little Rax, they're able to convert that one. Azure goes down to Inin as well. He does finally die, but honestly, Talon Esports, once again, just getting the better end of these trades, getting 2 kills for every one, getting more than that even, and Global Esports have no real presence left here.
And Satchuk's trying to find a way back into the fight, but he just can't do so. This is where the wall's big value. Just kind of cutting off a few members, saying don't even try and get on this, as Muse just going to solo push that one across the line. Global Esports is still trying to regroup together, trying to reset themselves, as Talon Esports looking at 5 full ultimates. Going to be really painful.
No one.
And honestly, that Blizzard, we don't normally consider it much of a factor outside of Control Center, where we see it usually. It actually really hurts Global Esports' ability to fight on top of the cart itself.
Well, I think the verticality is going to be important. Oh, yeah, see, this is the problem now. It's going to get dodged out a little bit.
Yeah, committed maybe a little bit too early, a little bit too overzealously, but Lil Rack still died in the rotation. Nice Earth Shatter, though, is going to really stop what that Nano Boost can do.
The whole hog
goes down. Nice self-destruct by Muse as well. Xenofly does go down in a trade, but I think Talon have accepted that they probably can't do this one. CQB knows he's done for. He was actually they still finish off Bubble Kitty. CQB lives, never mind.
I actually think there's too much sort of geometry here to hide away from the Blizzard, or just get yourself away from the Blizzard, or, you know, height to play with as well. The fact that then Apudo throws it into his own wall, and Global Esports is like, okay, we'll walk around that one. The Supercharger comes down. Didn't see the whole hog, though. That would have been a big combo, but Talon Esports still continued to move forward.
Last time I heard someone say too much geometry, it was my friend dropping out of his builder's apprenticeship. Global Esports, they did at least stop the card up for the time being, but they need to really double up that success here.
Dragon Strike coming through again, and look, Satchuk's asleep!
Yeah, and that means he's on the wrong side of that one, gets woken up by the damage of the Dragons. There was a trade onto Gogoro, though, who had himself a whole hog, so the lack of that is really starting to hurt Talon here. Lose a Pudo, Muse low, may go down, will go down. And they're just going to have to take another retreat here.
Talon are being strangely frugal about this, considering, you know, they have a lot of momentum going for them. They don't want to swap comps by the look of things, even though that may be a bit of a mistake, because as they lose their cart control, they kind of want to be going on the 3-3 goats. And look, they have some time to play with, but how much can you really afford to be giving away this time?
Well now, Talon, what's the plan? What's the go to get back on the payload, getting back underway after what was actually a decent high momentum start? They've ground to a halt.
And the team's not good for pushing. It's actually Apudo receiving the nano, which is strange.
I mean, this is where they want to put their damage output. The thing is, the Mei is surprisingly vulnerable.
The Mei doesn't have the best damage output. That's part of the strangeness of this.
Even with that right click, it's, you know, you're still relying on big shots. Little Rax finishes off Muse. Gagora's going to go down. Aputo's has to go Ice Cube, which means as soon as that runs out, he's going to get drilled down. There's just too much charge on the side of Little Rax here.
Poor Gagora's on the side there, whole hogging away. Like, where's my nano? This could have been really good for me.
Yeah.
And then sitting there as well as the Hans are like, I'm the better damage dealer, give me the nano. And meanwhile, you got Aputo walking forward, spraying his little, whatever it is, endothermic blaster.
Ice Beam.
Doing some, honestly, kind of pitiful damage. It was just,
yeah,
that was too weird.
They made the swap now. They do want to keep the Mei because they got a Blizzard. I'm a little iffy on that, but I can understand you want to get a bit of mileage out of it. Maybe they're going to go ahead and commit that out after separating one half of the team from the other. So that is actually more or less how you want to deploy it if you're not deploying it on the payload itself. So this is going to give them some headway. Xenofly down, Satchok goes down despite the Primal Rage. They've broken the tanks, and now it's all just about cleaning up the supports.
And the thing about all of this that is even more concerning is the fact that Global Esports might end up still losing to this composition and this kind of play from Talon Esports, where honestly it's not very ideal. It's not quite what you would expect to see, and it's shouldn't really be working, but it kind of is. And Global Esports might just concede B.
Now Xenofly is going to go for it. He's going to lay on a self-destruct. Probably won't remech after that, I imagine. Just barely manages it. Now the rest of the team's actually able to come in because that Maywall has expired. So suddenly Talon really low on health, and they're actually having to take a retreat here. Global Esports starting to press further forward, but it might be an overextension now as In recovers the team's health bars thanks to a Transcendence. Nice freeze on Satchok mid-charge. Freeze up Muse as well as kills Satchok. Talon, they've managed to keep it going.
Like I said, it's scary that this is working, and you have a world where Global Esports, I mean, they don't know what's going on. I don't know if Talon know what's going on either. It's kind of throwing both teams for a bit of a spin. And in that kind of scenario where you say, look, Global Esports actually denied the push for a while, they actually got to be careful. Setchuk likely goes down here. Xenofly of remix and everything.
Yeah.
It starts going so well for them, and they still lose.
Like they say, how can the enemy team know what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing? I don't think that's really what's going on here with Talon. I think they're actually just finding some ongoing success with the Mei in some very interesting circumstances.
I thought you were about to say, if it's stupid and it works, then it's not stupid and it works. Then I would have responded, then it's stupid and it also
actually,
works.
that's the thing. Like, really it's stupid, but it also works. Like, let's just accept that those things are not mutually exclusive. Nice Earth Shatter out from Satchok, looking to get the follow-up damage.
Right,
finding Bashful. Oh, took a little moment to kill him, though. Looked like it wasn't maybe going to go through. Self-destruct finds CQB, and suddenly the floodgates open. And this is with Talon committing a grab, committing a Blizzard.
Can they win this?
This is comical.
This
the door is still alive.
An insane
He's got
combo, but
Transcendence. They need to finish off Little Rax, though. I don't think they can do it with Aputo dead here.
I think Talon Esports have definitely gone insane here because
I certainly have.
because I mean, this is definitely the least disciplined play I've seen out of
Global backing off.
But also, it's working. Like, how is it working? How are Global Esports losing right now?
I hate Overwatch. That's a grab to come out in and should go down here. There we go. Finally Global Esports just win a fight.
It's a grab Blizzard combo with like 3
seconds.
people alive. It's in using Transcendence with like 3 people alive. It's 20 seconds of the push, which is expected. I mean,
Aputo can't change. He's too far away from spawn now. They're committed to this for the last push.
He didn't die, right? So yeah, I guess you're right. But
Satchok's lining up for a shadow. Oh, there we go. He gets 2, but now Muse is in front. They still get in. I think part of the team got walled off, but they still finish off Muse as well. And Talon do not get back to the cart thanks to that. Actually, that's Gagora's grab. They actually just can't get back to the cart. It's too far away. Yay,
he's practicing for defense when he's going to grab the now attacking team of Global Esports away from the cart, which is fair.
He's like, well, we're not going to be able to get back to the cart. Might as well get some practice in now.
I don't want to seem accusatory, but I think Talon Esports definitely celebrating the 3-0 at the moment.
They are enjoying Junkertown.
Very jovial team, just very
just a jolly.
Yeah.
You know, Global Esports may be in their clutches, but only softly. They're like, you know what? The prey's dead. I don't need to keep squeezing it.
It's like a cat just playing around with,
just toying with it.
Or a little mouse or something like that. It's quite an extreme analogy now.
It really is. I didn't really have a good way to follow that up, I'm going to be honest.
Neither did I.
I was going to maybe say something about like the condor, but It was just going to be an unrelated fact about what I think is quite a cool bird.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool birds in New Zealand. None of them very deadly.
No, no.
We don't have a bald eagle or something like that, but you know, we got an owl.
We do have hawks.
We have an owl. That's nice.
Owls are great. Owls are the best.
We have a pigeon that looks like it's wearing a wife beater. I think that's kind of threatening. I'll look it up.
I know. No, I think it's.
Kereru.
I know exactly what you mean. I've never heard it described like that before.
I see it all the time. You don't go to r/New Zealand.
It looks like it's wearing a wife beater.
That's true.
No, I've seen it play. That's the thing. I'm just.
K-E-R-U, I believe.
It's Kereru. K-E-R-E-R-U.
Whatever.
Well. Yeah, a lot of weird birds here. Anyway, Talon. 4 DPSs.
We did see this on Horizon, so this one you're not going to shake your head too much at.
What is this? It's like, this is the full gamut of birds of prey, right?
By the way, if you are Global Esports, you should just be running Widowmaker here because you have a pharmacy in the sky that you can easily shut down. I'm surprised that they are not going for it.
Bubble Kitty with a bit of a rope-a-dope, but see how long that profits him, how much longer he'll stay alive for.
A McCree would also be really strong. It would definitely put a lot of pressure on Apudo and Gagora, but because those threats aren't on the board, I mean, Talon Esports just run circles around Global Esports.
Yep, Little Rex is dead. Gagora nearly goes down, but survives, gets a kill. Good catch on CQB, though. That'll start to take the wind out of Talon's sails here, I would imagine. Or out of their wings, I suppose.
Speaking of wings, Bashful's not looking too good right now as Bubble Kitty's finally get some damage in there.
Gonna get clipped and grounded. Global Esports, so, I mean, they're still losing members even as they're winning, but more importantly now the payload has been moving, so these last few kills coming through for Talon haven't actually resulted in them making a defense happen.
Remember the last time we saw Bubble Kitty on Trace? It was very good. This time, it's still very good, and he's definitely putting the team on his back right now.
I thought you were going to say something else, but I mean, yeah, last time we saw him it was good, and this time it's good. I think that's perfectly fair to say. The Dragon Strike not doing a whole lot. Coalescence giving the team well and truly in the fight. Bubble Kitty just showing off a little bit. So they're going to finish off this last few and get this fight, get this cap.
Yeah, this should be now.
Oh, hello.
You say get the cap. This might actually end up helping Global Esports.
Yeah.
It just lets them reset a little bit. This is assuming they want to change back into 3-3, or at least the GOATS variety of that. So the Sombra variety of that, because EMP becomes available.
But I mean, I kind of hope they don't, right? Like this is, there it goes.
This is, no, again,
kind of too much
GOATS
fun.
purists, come on.
Yeah.
You gotta understand that.
Like vegans.
This is just them trying meat a little bit. It's like, no, this is
like, you know what? No, I'm still vegan. Never mind. Meat is murder. And
speaking of murder,
yeah. Well, it's a robot. It's a bit different, but yeah, I said it. I don't care. Bashful, the pretty decent rocket barrage, honestly, has kept the tables pretty even here, but Global Esports still have more to throw into the mix. Self-destruct from Xenofly. It gets Bashful out of the skies, but it doesn't kill anyone, just makes some space. Apudo low. Struggling to get the kills in here, but they do find Bubble Kitty. EMP to come out from Little Rags. Global Esports just keeping the pressure on, and there we go again, Bashful. Once the Condor is on the ground, it is a very vulnerable creature.
Risky res as well. CQB probably just wants to reset. In fact, Talon Esports in general probably want to reset. This B point looks like it's done. And they're on the comp they want to play, by the way. That's the, the regular GOATS plus the Sombra. This is their bread and butter that they've had for most of the maps, so all the 3 previous ones that they've won on. Time to get serious, though. Because they couldn't cap the entire game in their own attack phase, they actually need to complete the hold here.
They also realize that Talon have swaps, they can come off the Moira. They don't need the extra safety and the sort of defensiveness that the Moira can bring itself. They're happy to go back to the Zenyatta.
And Little Rex happy to go into Zarya here as well. I think for Global Esports, they can sort of start to smell the victory, depending on how the EMP goes, and it's going good.
It is pretty good, to say the least. That's 5 members, with the 6th not really having much he can do about it. Just to sit and watch, recharge his batteries while his teammates go down. Good fight for Talon.
See, Apudo, this one's definitely a bird of prey, and the way he just runs at Azure, he knows that's the only defensive ultimate. He knows that's the one that maybe could turn things around and just hunt a killer straight on top of him. Global Esports have no chance.
He's an owl, deadly silent. Got shaped feathers on the front of their wings.
Those hoots are pretty loud. I mean, you say
yeah,
silent,
but they don't. I mean, they can just choose to not do them. It's going to be the grab to come out, so this is Talon just looking to cycle through these ultimates one by one by one. They had to commit a Transcendence, though, because Gagora got low, so I suppose 2 by 2. Global Esports, they have some ultimates coming up, but not quite in time. They lose a few too many members.
Oh, that connects.
It does, but I feel like it might be a little bit late in the day here. Satchok's going to go down. It's only really Bubble Kitty and Little Rax here.
This fight is still kind of strangely 50-50, and
Talon
it's got to be Talon backing out now. Apuro has another EMP, and despite Global Esports winning this one, it's now going to be a question of how far can they push before the next EMP drops on all 6.
Gagora is dangerously low here. They've got that EMP, that's the thing. It's got to be that or bust.
And look at Xeonflux, 90%, not quite in time. If he can get the Transcendence, it's a big deal.
He's actually one of the targets of the EMP. Good scatter there from Global Esports to stop the EMP from getting too much. Only got 2 members, only one of which has died. Self-destruct laid up, no kills from that one, but they're getting kills on the ground thanks to the grab. And despite these low health bards tank,
that's going to be a cap.
Finishing off member after member after member of Talon. You've got to believe it's going to be a cap to come over the line here. Not really much left in the bank for Talon. Last dregs of resistance on the point. Muse might be able to come out with a shatter, but it would have to be a pretty legendary one. Not going to be able to get there in time. And there will be one map back for Global Esports.
And this is where Talon Esports, I mean, you got to think, maybe you see this one coming a little bit where, especially how that attack went, the fact they don't finish the actual map itself, the fact that, it takes them until the C point for them to kind of start to get on maybe a redeemable composition. Even then, not so much. Apuro played May right up until the end. And then on the defense as well, started very shaky for Talon there. That kind of DPS comp, while not uncommon for this team, is a little bit uncommon for that defense.
Yeah.
Global Esports kind of just stick to their guns and, they see the victory in sight and they go for it.
Bit of a peculiar ending, I would say. Even for Junkertown, there was some surprises. Some odd decisions, shall we say.
Yeah, it's...
But on the whole, Talon should be happy with that. That's the thing. At the end of the day, Talon did win the series, and they won it very convincingly on the whole. And it means they preserved that first place spot. That's the real thing. After dropping down from that first place, well, technically still in first place, but in a 3-way tie for it, at least as far as this point goes, halfway through the week as we are, they do eke just back up into that uncontested first place.
And I think now this is going to be, very interesting to see how it pans out for that final week. I think at the moment, Talon being the only team that is 5-1 and, good shot of making 6-1 next week. If that happens, guaranteed top 2. In fact, I might be certain that it to be a guaranteed top 1 at that stage. Global Esports, 3-3 now, I believe, likely to, probably finish the season on a 4-3. They're probably going to beat Giant Lynx, you got to say there. So not all bad. They're very likely to go into playoffs, but, a lot to still play for. I think it'd be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, and I mean also, just in terms of how the rest of the week goes as well, the other 2 teams that were in that 3-way tie, I mentioned this a bit earlier, they've both got matchups tomorrow that you'd feel